But why? Why shouldn't I just add my child to my deed? It's a common question I get asked. They want to circumvent estate planning by just adding your child to your deed. I literally just had this conversation today, and it is a consequence. There are consequences to those actions. So there is issues with taxes, either your capital gains tax and what we call stepped up basis, or property taxes that you want to deal with. So adding your child to your deed can have consequences to them or you that you may not want to have happen. So let's first talk about stepped up basis. So when you buy a house and then you turn around and sell that house, you have what is called capital gains. You have an increase in value most of the time, right? Not all the time. There has been times that people don't have that, but most of the time you have an increase in value in your property. And the increase in value is what is capital gains. And you get taxed on that capital gains. But there is something called a stepped up basis. So when you give property via inheritance, it actually pushes that, instead of like being where when you purchased the property it was worth, say you bought it for $100,000 and then when you died it was worth $500,000. So that baseline of your capital gains, so that ending point, ends at the point of death. So it kind of pushes that tax basis up. That's why we call it stepped up. And so the way that happens is that, so when your kids inherit it, their starting point is the value upon your death, which is that $500,000. If they chose to sell that property right away, they would have no capital gains tax on the capital gains because there would be none. If they went and sold it 5 years from now, their capital gains taxes that they pay is based upon the capital gains between the time that you passed away and the time that they sell. So this is really, really important to save your family members on taxes if you hold out and give them that property upon inheritance instead of trying to add them on the deed now. Now the second issue, right, issue number 2 that we're dealing with is property taxes, and that has been a recent change in the law associated with Prop 19. So if you end up putting there used to be what we call a parent-child exclusion, where you could actually pass property from your parent to your child or vice versa without there being a change in property taxes. But that's changed now. There is still a parent-child exclusion, but there are conditions on it. So the child or the parent, whoever is being passed back and forth to, okay, has to actually be living in the property as their primary residence. So if you're putting your child in your property and they live somewhere else, your property taxes are going to increase, likely by the share to which your children own, which is probably 50%. So if you are on a fixed income in a house, putting your child on your property and increasing your property taxes is not a good idea. You definitely won't want to do that. So those are things to consider. There is a lot of nuances with this whole change in Prop 19 and the property taxes, and that just occurred in February, and you may or may not have heard about it. So February of 2021 is the change. So you want to think about that. You want to consider that. In all honesty, it is better to put your property in a trust and pass it to your children upon your death. It makes a lot more sense, and it saves you in the long run for a lot of things. Saves them in the long run for a lot of things. So if you have questions about how to deal with your deeds and your property, either one or multiple, because there are different things to consider if they're investment properties or your primary residence. But if you have questions about your properties, feel free to give us a call. Let us know how we can help you and help figure out what is best for your estate planning to help make sure things transition in the easiest way possible, most efficiently, and the best way to save on tax consequences later. Again, though, I want to remind everyone, I am not a tax attorney, but I do deal with these issues specifically associated with estate planning. So feel free to give me a call. We are happy to help. Thanks so much.